Remember that at any time you can now alter the relationship between the forearm twist and the deformers or the rigging objects that you've used to distribute that twist. For example, if I switch back into a textured mode and activate wireframe on shaded, I might want to restrict the movement of the deformer that falls right at the elbow line. Try and kind of torque that down a little bit. So if I access Control K, I can actually drop that value down to keep the shape a little more intact. So if I say drop this down to 20% or even 15%, you can see the effect it leaves behind. On this object, if I move to say 60%, I can start to really keep that shape without losing volume. Of course, I need to remember to move these values, 15% and 60%, all the way to the other side. So I'll try and tweak these values a little more to get the look I want. So 0.93, 0.5, we'll call this 0.2. Oh, I've got 2 decimal places in there. 0.55. Okay, let's see what happens on the other side then. So we have to match up 0.8 for 0.98. 0.55. And finally 0.2. If I look at this movement, again, it seems to describe my character a little better. And still gives me a fairly nice deformation. Actually, it's a little better than it was before. As I move to the box at the bicep, it's a little too close to the value of 0.2 that's carried by the first bone in the forearm, or the fourth bone in the forearm. So I'll drop this one down to maybe 0.1, 0.15, just to torque it a little bit more. I'll quickly pop Mulcore back into the default position. Middle click to apply action. And just give the character one quick test. We'll put the characters out in front. Again, I'm sort of using the pull vector and flipping there. So we got a very nice deformation in the arm. If we had the character, say, exposing the palm up to look at it, we get a very nice deformation there. You will find that not all rigging problems are solved by this particular rig, but it works very well for many of the cases that you'll come across when dealing with the whole twisting problem. Looks like I could do a little bit of smoothing here. Of course, I need to switch back to the appropriate weight map. Just try and tighten that connection from the shoulder to the bicep. And I'll just take all of those points, of course, and then mirror across to the other side. Alright, pop the character back into pose. And I'll Make sure that the geometry group is set to have no effect on selecting the members, and I'll export the model. Close everything up and export. Alright, so if we're looking at additional things to do, for cleaning the character up, no one necessarily wants to be able to grab these objects here, so it really depends on where you're going next in production. If this was being passed over to an animator, you'd likely want to take some of those control objects and make them unselectable, or at the very least make them hidden. In this case, I'll just hide them. As far as the ulna radii rig group, that's working fine, but I also have these twist objects that need to be accounted for as well. So I'll grab some of those guys there. And on both arms, I'll make the cubes added to the ulna radii rig group. So I'll make sure selectability is off, and our rig again looks a little better. One of the things that you also have to keep in mind is that if you're not going to continue rigging, you probably want to color code the rig back to its original red, green, red, yellow, blue. I'll open up the Explorer, access the bone color holder, which is holding 3 overrides, and apply them to my various groups. So my left side control color override, we'll drag back on, we'll find the right side, as well as the middle control override. And there we recreate our final look to the rig. One last export, continually overriding the file. And animators are ready to take over from here. So we'll save this character for a little bit later, and we'll continue to add to Malcor. So I hope you got something out of this forearm twist lesson. One of the next things we'll look at doing is how to implement this twist using these same objects in ice to manage the expressions in a cleaner fashion.